Hello everybody and welcome back to Heavy Hammer Comics. I just wanted to do a quick assortment of books, some recent acquisitions and some that I pulled out of my short boxes, just to kind of show you some of my collection. I feel like maybe I could do this every week or so and kind of get everybody an idea of what I'm getting, what I'm looking through and reading, what I'm collecting, and give me some time to do some research and read through some of these comics and get an idea about other characters and things that I don't know. As I've stated before in my videos, I'm fairly new to comic collecting, and so I'm trying to learn about as many characters, Marvel, DC, Image, anything as far as publishers go. Really just kind of trying to get a greater understanding for all sorts of different comics. So without further ado, let's start with the first book. You can see that there without too much of a glare. Alright, we have Thrasher for Control number 1. This is from October of 1992. It's a part 1 of 4 limited series. This is a Mark Bagley and Dave Hoover cover. The writer on this one I looked up was a Fabian Nicieza. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. And the story arc on this one is Strength. I haven't read this yet. This is a recent pickup for me. So I just kind of thought it was a cool book. Thrasher seems to be kind of a neat character. And I just like the cover. On this one, I gave it a grade of around a 9.0, so very fine to near mint. There were some spine ticks, and some of the corners are blunted a little bit. I paid around $2 for this. Again, I'm not, a licensed grader or anything like that. I'm very new to this, so it's amateur grading. So I don't know if that was a good deal or not. From what I can kind of surmise from Go Collect and Comic Price Guide, that I might have made a decent pickup here on this one for the condition that it's in. So this is Thrasher for Control number 1. Alright, the next book up is Firestorm. So this is the second volume of Firestorm, The Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. This is number 5. It's from October 1982, a 60 center. The story in this one is the Pied Piper's Pipes of Peril. You can see the Pied Piper in the background there. I'm a musician, so I tend to pick up any books that have music on the cover. Saw this at a local thrift shop, junk shop here in town, and thought it was kind of a cool story idea, so I picked it up. Cover by Pat Broderick and Dick Giordano. The writer is Jerry Conway. Now on this one, I've given it around a 5.0, so mid-grade, very good to fine. I think I paid like $3 for this, and I know that it's not worth that. I don't even think it's worth $1. But again, like I said, I picked up it based on the music on the cover. And I kind of like the idea of Firestorm as a character. I've been recently getting into a little bit of DC and reading a little bit of Firestorm. I like the sort of split personality with him and Dr. Martin Stein. I think it's kind of cool. What's interesting about this book that I found out is that the Pied Piper is actually most often a Flash villain, and so in this one he seems to be going after Firestorm. And then an interesting tidbit about this specific issue: Senator Walter Riley is drawn in this issue. And he's actually drawn being bald by mistake. He's supposed to have hair. So in issue number 6, they actually fixed that and sort of retconned the hair in. So just kind of a unique tidbit about this specific book. So again, this is The Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, number 5. Staying on that same theme, we've got another Fury of Firestorm. I happen to pick these all up at the same time. This is number 2, a 60 center. This one is from July of '82. The story in this one is Rage. Cover and writer are the same as the previous one. I gave this around the same grade, 5.0. I think I also paid like $3 for this, but again, doubt it's worth that. I thought the cover was neat. You see the Mad Hatter and the Marsh Hare and the Caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. We have a little bit of a crossover in this story. Some key stuff about this one: you have the first appearance of Harry Carew, who works at Concordance Research and is a colleague of Dr. Martin Stein. Kind of see some jealousy going on, but at the end they actually end up becoming good friends. And this book is actually considered part 2 of the story arc Day of the Bison from issue number 1. And you can see we've got Black Bison here on the cover. I think that he just seems to be a neat character as well. So again, probably not my most frugal pickup, but again, the character of Firestorm is kind of cool, and the cover is pretty neat with those Alice in Wonderland characters and statues there. So pretty much the real reason that I picked up those other 2 books was I was also picking up this one, Fury of Firestorm, Nuclear Man, number 1. So we have the first issue in his own series. This is from June of 1982. This is the Day of the Bison story arc. Cover and writer is the same as the previous ones. I also graded this around a 5.0 mid-grade. I paid $4 for this one, which again is too much for what it's worth. But I loved the cover. I like that blue background. I think that's really sharp, and it actually, it makes the character pop a lot on the cover. And again, it's a first issue. It's an issue number 1 of a new series, and I like the character of Firestorm. So the price didn't really matter too much to me. We do have a couple of first appearances in this one. So we have the first appearance and origin story of Black Bison, John Ravenhair. We have the first appearance of Lorraine Riley, who later becomes Firehawk. The first appearance of a couple muggers, Zero and Beanbag. Never heard of them. Again, I haven't read this one. So I did some research, and when I found out that they're very low minor characters, nothing to be excited about. But Zero and Beanbag were kind of fun names, so I really thought that was kind of cool. But this book also has the first appearance of Jefferson Jackson. He is a unique character later on in the CW TV version of Arrow, I think, because he actually becomes Firestorm in that show. So I think that's kind of a cool thing that we see his first appearance here, not as Firestorm, just as another student, but later becomes Firestorm in the TV show. So there is the Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, number 1. Another book I picked up a while ago, but I've actually not really talked about very much, is The Clown Prince of Crime, The Joker. This is number 6. It's a 25 center. This one comes from April 1976. I haven't done a lot of research on this one. I don't know who the cover or story is by in this specific one. I do know that right here is Clive Sigerson, who is disguised as Sherlock Holmes. What's a kind of a unique thing about this book is that it references a lot of Sherlock Holmes stories throughout, and it's actually dedicated to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of and creator of Sherlock Holmes. Now this one I gave a grade somewhere between a 1.5 and a 2. It's got some major staining, lots of color breaking creases, tons of spine ticks. So it's probably closer to the 1.5 side of things, if not, you know, maybe if I got it cleaned and pressed a little bit, some of it might come out, but a lot of it's kind of ruined. On this one, I think I only paid like 75 cents for it, and even in the bad condition, it seems to be worth more from what I found, so that's kind of neat. I didn't pick it up for any other reason than seeing Sherlock Holmes right here. Seeing Sherlock Holmes, who was always one of my favorite characters to read when I was younger, really piqued my interest in seeing him in a Joker comic. So I instantly grabbed it, and especially for 75 cents, I thought that was a decent deal. So there's the Joker number 6 from 1976. Alright, this next one is kind of an interesting book. Monsters on the Prowl, number 10. This comes from April of 1971. It's a 15-center. What's unique about this is that there's a couple stories in it. The first story actually reprints from the Journey into Mystery number 71 story. I brought The Rock to life. The same story that was done, and same cover sort of homage to that Journey into Mystery number 71. So we have the cover by Steve Ditko, Marie Severin, and then Mori Kuramoto, and the story written by Stan Lee and Larry Lieber. The second story in here, One Last Wish, was actually adopted from a short story, The Monkey's Paw, by English author W.W. Jacobs. So again, this is just a book about monsters. I thought the cover was neat. A giant rock breaking out of an egg, people running for their life, and it was in decent shape. I think it's a 2.0. I mean, it's a low grade, but for the book, for the age of it, it was good enough for me. I think I bought it for $1.50 or $2, so I probably overpaid, but for me, the cover grab really gets my attention. I know just that, paw / wing / hand, whatever coming out of the egg, really grabbed my attention, and so I just knew I had to have it. And I like monster mysteries and horror, and it's just really piqued my interest. So there is Monsters on the Prowl number 10, 1971. Now this is a very recent acquisition, just picked it up a couple days ago. It is Flash Gordon, number 16. So Flash Gordon in the Mystic Realm, number 16. This is from October of 1969. It's a 15-center. As you can see, it's from Charlton Comics. Okay. Not Marvel, DC, but Charlton Comics. The cover is by Pat Boyette, and the writer is Joe Gill. Now, the condition on this one's pretty bad. I gave it a 1.0 at best. You can see pretty major creases, tons of spine ticks. Cover's kind of coming off down here by the staple a little bit. Lots of color breaking creases. The pages are pretty brittle, and it's discolored. So, a fair grade on this one is actually really probably as good a grade as it's going to get. I think I paid $1.50 for this one, so it's probably not worth it in the condition. Really got it again for the cover. This mystic, sort of wizard in the background, and a guy with a sword fighting a winged demon or gargoyle or something like that. Again, piqued my interest, grabbed my attention. The little, Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash Ring of Fire down here, really sort of caught my eye, so I just went ahead and got it. And it's always nice to have some Silver Age books, even if they're kind of in worse condition in the collection. So, Flash Gordon in the Mystic Realm. This is number 16 from 1969. Alright, picking up the next one from just a year earlier, we have Superboy. We have Superboy. This one is from October, again, of 1968. This is a 12 center. Didn't really do quite a lot of research on this one. I found out the cover is a Neil Adams, I believe. And the writer is Frank Robbins. The story's DOA, In Cold Blood, Dead on Arrival. And you see Superboy there saying, I just killed Lana Lang, and holding her in his arms. Apparently there's a quote somewhere in the story, I haven't read this one yet, that basically says, hey, police officers, whatever he's talking to, I will stay right here in jail, I won't escape until you can clear me of these charges. And because he could easily break out, I think that's kind of neat. I graded this one as a 3.0, and again, I think that's a generous grade, good or very good. I do see some foxing here on the side, some color breaking creases down here. But for the age of this, it actually is in pretty good shape. The pages weren't very brittle. Everything was connected. And there honestly weren't even a ton of spine ticks on this one. It seemed more wear on the corners and just this edge of the book than actually over here along the binding. So I thought that was kind of nice for this age of the book. I paid $1.95, I think, for this one, $2. I actually think it's probably worth that, if not a little bit more. So I think I probably did okay there. Again, just the cover caught my eye. A Superman, Superboy looking character holding a quote-unquote dead body in his arms. It's pretty eye-grabbing, eye-catching. So that is Superboy, number 151 from October of 1968. Interesting fact about this one, we have the earliest mention of the Krypton sun, I think it's pronounced Rao, as being a religious icon to the Kryptonians. Superboy references it within the comic, and so that's the earliest mention of it as being a religious icon. So kind of a neat key feature. Alright, just a couple more here, and we'll finish out. We have Mandrake The Magician from King Comics. So this is Mandrake number 10 from November of 1967. A 12 center. We have cover by Fred Fredericks, Ray Bailey, Paul Norris, and Alex Raymond. I'm not actually sure, I couldn't find who actually did this specific cover, but those are all the artists on this book, with Fred Fredericks actually being one of the writers. Again, it's from King Comics, not Marvel or DC. I graded this around a 2.0, which I think is a generous grade. I think it cost me about $5, $4, $4.95, $5, somewhere in there. In this condition, it's not worth that. It's got lots of color breaking creases and chipping along the side and up at the top. The cover at the staples here is coming slightly detached a little bit, it's tearing through. So in this condition, it's not worth that. But the reason I picked this up is I recently read an article, I think the article was published last year, but I just read it, that they were surmising that Mandrake is actually the first superhero in comics. He came out maybe 3 years before Superman in comics, and he's really the first superhero. He uses the power of hypnosis and magic to do what he needs to do, versus being just a historical character or reprinting some war stories or something like that in a comic strip. He's at least by this article is considered the first superhero. As I'm going through these comics, if you have comments about their condition or anything interesting I should know about them, or do you think that Mandrake is the first superhero, feel free to comment and let me know. Give me some constructive criticism. I'm new to the hobby and I really appreciate any help that I can get. as far as these books. So this is Mandrake the Magician number 10. And then we'll wrap up this video with the last book here. We have another Mandrake. Again, I picked these up sort of just because I read that article. We have Mandrake the Magician number 4, another 12 center from King Comics. This is from March of 1967. This one's 3.5, I think I graded it at, which is a very good minus. But I paid $5 or $6 for this one. I feel like a broken record, but again, I don't think it's worth that in the condition. This one is better than the other. It's got some chipping along the side and the bottom. It doesn't actually have really any creases or anything on the cover. We've got a couple of spine ticks over here, but this one, the front cover is actually very nice. The back cover is a little bit cloudy and kind of discolored. On the inside, the pages are starting to lose a little bit of their color and their suppleness. They're getting a little brittle. So, but this front cover is really eye-popping. I actually keep this one up in a display case just because I really think it. I like the look of the magician looking down over the cage and the fire coming out. Mandrake betrays old friends to uncover the secret of the Black Wizard. Kind of a tagline, classic comic book tagline. Interesting tidbit about this one is that the backup story in this book is the Girl Phantom backup story. Girl Phantom, I don't know anything about her, I haven't really researched her yet, but she makes her appearance in the backup story here in Mandrake number 4. So again, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'll try to do more comic book stuff. Like the video. Show it to your friends. I want to spread my love and passion for comics out there, and if you have friends that are passionate about comics, shoot them my link. Like the video, don't like it, just leave me comments what I should change, what I should differ. I know this video is a little long. I try to keep my videos a little bit shorter, but sometimes I talk too much when I get excited. So hope you enjoy the video. Again, Heavy Hammer Gym and Comics on YouTube. You can also follow me at Heavy Hammer Gym Comics on Instagram. Thank you, and have a good day.